The market update. I'm your host, Bill Noble. Who's right about Ethereum? Me or Gary Gensler? I'll give you a hint. It's me. I've got some good Ethereum charts. You're going to want to see it. It's been a lot of weird action with the dollar. I'm going to explain it. Ethereum is better than tech stocks. I know stocks are up. Stocks are always up, but I think there is a reality check that's about to happen where there's going to be disappointment in crypto land. The disappointment could be with Bitcoin, surprisingly, right? That could happen today because of the dollar or maybe over the weekend. But I think with all coins and Ethereum, which I haven't talked much about, it's buy on red. Okay, it's buy on red, and it may be buy on steady in ETH. Okay, let's welcome who's jumping into the stream here. Okay, we have Richard Barry, welcome. We have Timothy Rudy, who's dying for those charts. Okay, we have Mr. G. We have Donato is here. Rave Song Records, Bull Runner, always good to see you. Andre, please bring the volatility. Yes, the volatility is gone and it's August, but sometimes you can get volatility in thin markets. I'm actually looking for more opportunities now than I have been in a while. Kim Craig is here. David, wrong again. Welcome to the show. Okay, just as a reminder before we get going, Unhinged Crypto, a mix of traditional TA, that's just coming from my comments, GAN, mixing some Planet Venus in there, and of course, Toby's work is now a functioning YouTube channel. We have videos coming out at either 7 a.m. Central and or 3 p.m. So we got a consistent flow over there. Any support you can give us with a follow and like a video, check it out. Okay. If Toby was a computer, if it was Toby GPT, people might get into it faster. So the dynamic duo of Unhinged Crypto is out there. Please check it out. Okay, let's go to the news. US GDP accelerates to 2.4%, blowing past expectations. Okay. Now, this is just coming out now. Bank of Japan, okay, to adjust yield curve control to allow rates over 0.5%. So let's talk about what that means, and let's talk about what the Bloomberg story means all at the same time. So the Fed raises rates 500 basis points, and no one cares. The economy's still moving along. People are paying the higher interest rate on credit card debt. Layoffs are not as bad unless you're in New York and California, and we will talk about how funny that is later. Okay, but 500 basis points of rate hikes really isn't stopping anything. Okay, then you've got this thing with the Bank of Japan, okay, which I just had up here. Pull it up again. So the Bank of Japan is having some problem managing interest rates and inflation. So are the Europeans. Matter of fact, the ECB came out so strong about tightening that it actually wrecked the euro. So they're afraid the whole continent is going to sink into the ocean because the ECB is going to have to hike rates. And then we have the Bank of Japan discussing what's called yield curve control, which is a complex mechanism using the bond market and allowing interest rates to rise in Japan. In other words, the wheels are off the cart in fiat. The wheels are off the cart in fiat. Okay. So this move by the Bank of Japan, right, signals some sort of panic. Now, meanwhile, Bitcoin mining is an oligopoly, right? And proof of stake isn't any better. People, I got news for you. Anything that helps produce crypto, okay? Anything that helps produce crypto, especially with the fiat system failing, okay? Fiat systems failing. Twitter is dead. Long live crypto Twitter. The jokes about crypto Twitter, which I have to admit I make from now and again, crypto Twitter may become the backbone of all of Twitter. How cool is that? Now, feds drop campaign finance charge against SBF. The quiet disappearing act of charges against SBF. Our government is kind of corrupt, to say the least. And this administration is protected by the press, so they can go right on, keep it on. Now, our favorite guy, Gensler says that crypto market is rife with fraud and rife with hucksters. And this individual says he's not wrong. So I guess if you've ever been rugged, you've been rugged by somebody who is a huckster and committed fraud. Let the market sort this out. Crypto is rife with fraud. Probably so was the railroad. So was gold mining. So was the telegraph. So was every big invention in history. There were 60 publicly traded auto companies on the exchange on the NYSE in 1929. How many made it? 3? We do not need these guys to tell us how to clean up the market, because the market will clean up the market. The market will clean up the market. All right. Now, with that news done, let's jump straight back into this. US GDP is much stronger than expected. Okay. Yet, let's go check where the dollar is. Let's check all this out. So, US GDP growth is much higher than expected. So, the dollar just went to resistance. Okay. It's a perfect time to sell the dollar, particularly since I would imagine the yen just got stronger. Okay. So, I want to emphasize that this is what can happen in P&L destruction environment. Everybody was short the dollar and they got squeezed out. And wrong again notes about the GDP number. I don't trust those numbers. So let's move straight over to PowerPoint on that note. Sharing screen now. Okay. Here's a little interesting statistic about the dollar and about governments in general. As fiat fails, this histogram was on Zero Hedge. It represents the weekly change in jobless claims by state. Okay. So, want to take a guess as to what the biggest 2 states are down here on the bottom? Okay. How about the base of the current administration? That would be New York and California. Okay. Whatever economics is being offered these days is laying waste to the base of that party. Okay. How can you have a constructive role on governments and fiat in this environment? Matter of fact, I would argue fiat is in total chaos. Let's take a look at just the euro to keep it simple. In Europe, the interest rates are going higher, much higher. Yet people were selling the euro today on a 13 top after an ECB announcement. Bizarre. That's what caused the squeeze in the dollar, because, euro down, dollar up. But what do I always say? Buy on red or in the dollar, sell on green, which is why if there's a dollar top today, the theme of the stream, and so most of the charts that we're going to go over are going to be about Ethereum. And people in crypto may wind up feeling I don't know, let's call it betrayed or disappointed. That either because the market goes nowhere or because they don't get gratification out of Bitcoin. Because everybody is piling into Bitcoin. I woke up one day and I worked with Toby and I said, you know what? I listened to her and we talked. Everyone's long Bitcoin. Everybody is long Bitcoin. Nobody is long the other stuff. Other stuff meaning Ethereum, etc. So when you got this going on in the dollar, I say fade that. Fade it. I mean, the Bank of Japan just made a move to make the yen stronger. How's the dollar going to go up? Meanwhile, oil on a rampage. Now, higher oil is generally not good for Bitcoin. The fact that oil burst through 80 and Bitcoin is holding is somewhat constructive because at least Bitcoin's not getting killed. But if oil goes to the hidden pivot target of 84, that won't be good for Bitcoin, obviously. And higher interest rates, along with higher oil, could be toxic for crypto. It could be. Or we could adopt a buy on red strategy for ETH and altcoins because they are under-owned versus equities, which are over-owned. In other words, in the summer, if they go green, we go red. If they go red, we go green. Okay, let's talk about ETH. ETH's got daily support at 1846. So at a minimum, the range is 1846 to 2021. Okay. I say ETH at the bottom is at the bottom end of a range. So it's not investment advice, but I'm not selling ETH on top of support. Okay. XRP, DeMark work may be toppy today, but if XRP dips and then comes back, there's a lot of room to go back to the high. There's a lot of air up here to this DeMark resistance point from when the correction started. So again, I say give altcoins a chance. Let's go back to Ethereum versus Bitcoin. ETH versus Bitcoin, right? You have wave 1 up, wave 2 down. This could be wave 3 up. You could have Ethereum substantially outperform Bitcoin on the way up, assuming legacy doesn't come unglued. The surprise trade of August, if there is one, could be ETH and altcoins up. Because Ethereum versus Bitcoin is sitting on this moving average from DeMark, and that's called a bird on a wire getting ready to fly. And Wrong Again is noting ETHBTC is at the bottom end of its range. Sounds like it's time for ETH to me. Now, the good news for the whole market, I think, is that, Bitcoin doesn't look great. It doesn't go up, but chart-wise, it doesn't look terrible, right? Notice if you're watching this stream on Saturday, right, and you see that, headed into Thursday afternoon, the structure on Elliott Wave was one on a 90-minute Bitcoin chart. 1 up, 2 down, 3 up, 4 down, and there's a possibility of a 5-wave new high back to 30, which would be an amazing feat given what's going on with oil. But again, there's a crisis in fiat, right? There's a crisis in fiat. And if the Japanese and the Europeans are raising rates and the United States is almost done, or interest rate hikes have just frankly been unaffected, that smells like dollar lower to me. So I don't know what they're doing today by taking the dollar higher. So yeah, I'm not in love with Bitcoin, and people in Bitcoin may wind up being bored. We may all be bored. But for God's sakes, people, at some point, that dollar really turns around and goes lower. One of the things I said about the Fed meeting, if the dollar cannot hold a bid after the Fed meeting, forget about it. It's over. You're talking about a massive dollar devaluation versus all these other countries that are going to have to hike rates. Okay? And that is the PowerPoint version of the market update. Okay. So I know Rudy is pumped up about Jasmy. So let's hook Rudy up. He is out there reminding y'all to smash the like button, subscribe to this channel and Unhinged. Okay, so Jasmine on a 4-hour chart, not a lot going on. Let's go to 89-minute because that's the world we're living in. Okay, let's do some hidden pivot analysis. Okay, so this is really interesting about Jasmine. Okay, you've got support where it is right now at 38.73, and your upside target potentially is 40.45. I have to share the screen. My bad. Okay, so on the hidden pivot work on Jasmine, let me draw this again. My bad. Okay, you're sitting on support right here. You guys can see the screen, right? I can see the screen. Sitting on support at 38.78. The target could be 40.51. I know this sounds a little repetitive, but I actually think if the markets do nothing, if legacy just kind of gridlocks itself, altcoins. Andre wants to know, can Bitcoin Cash go down a little bit? Well, that's a good question. Let's check out the DeMark work. Blue Collar Jeff wants me to bring back the air horn. I had a singing bowl once that I banged on. So we're doing a little on-the-fly altcoin overtime. So let's see what we get here when we do fib retracements. Now, interesting that Bitcoin Cash is sitting right on the 38% retracement level. Now, the next big rally will probably be a 13 top. So we'll see how it behaves. But it does look like you're going to get that punch rally higher. Okay. Mark says XRP has a faster shot of a 5X than ETH. Okay. Well, in this market, I would take a 10% gain. A 5X is something we're looking at probably in September. Okay. Rung again says Bitcoin Cash has not retraced enough. I get it. Like I said, I'm really more interested in, ETH. Okay. Someone's looking at Cosmos. I just saw that on my other screen and got interested in it. Okay. So this is a daily chart. Not a lot going on here. The real support is at 8.5. Okay. Nothing either way on, say, a 240-minute chart. Okay, I would say, looking at this, okay, that Cosmos is actually sitting right on its old low over here. And this looks like a giant stop fishing exercise on the 90-minute chart. So let's go to a 4-hour chart, see if we can make this a little bit clearer. That's pretty interesting to me, that you did this huge stop fishing exercise. You got the big red candle. Kind of wondering if now would be the time to jam this higher. Like I said, if you're going to get hurt trying to buy on red. Because if you buy on green, I mean, every time you buy on green in Cosmos, maybe with the exception of this little move here, but even if you FOMO'd in, it's a money-losing proposition. You're better off buying on red. Okay? Bubba Smith says, I'm late. Bubba, you're never too late. You're never too early. You're right on time. Okay? The fiscal is here. Welcome. Okay? Welcome to the show. Mark, GF, looking for DAG. Not getting that. Okay, somebody said, Los Angeles is filled with zombies. I saw this go through. Okay. Fernando has a rare opportunity to join a live stream. Yes, we are moving it up an hour because of the heat in Texas. Digital Bobby says, I live in Los Angeles, and on the streets, it looks like The Walking Dead. You know, I don't like people experiencing the Walking Dead, but when you say these things to me and I look at this hootenanny with the dollar, I'm just like, really? Really? You know, you guys want to take it up here in a resistance zone? Yours. I sell, as we used to say in foreign exchange a long time ago, right? Things like silver down 2%. Right? Everyone's like, am I going to get a dip? Am I going to get a dip? Well, you're getting a dip. Now, why does silver matter? Look at that. The down move in silver goes right to the 38% retracement. Right there. This is silver on an 89-minute chart. Always interesting if you're seeing this like on a Friday, say, hey, did it bounce? Did it hold? Why does silver matter? ETH follows metals, right? Metals are down today. Excellent. Metals are down off some dollar rally, mysterious dollar rally. All right, whatever. Now, let's be fair. Let's talk about bonds, right? Let's talk about interest rates. Let's talk about what's holding back the altcoin party. So this is long bonds. This is the thing that determines the 30-year mortgage rate. You can think of altcoins as the Avengers and ZB as Thanos. When ZB goes down, the Avengers take a hit. Okay? ZB is the enemy of all speculative assets because it means people are freaking out and interest rates rise. Now, this is related to the Bank of Japan. I am definitely not going to go into the economics behind this, but ZB could get wasted. It could get wasted. Now, if it doesn't, that's great for crypto. If ZB does get wasted, that's your opportunity to get into ETH and altcoins. Right? The Fed is laying awake at night about inflation and would actually like ZB and the dollar to be lower. It would help them with inflation. But you need to have ZB up on your watch list. You need to have it there for sure. Okay. Okay. Somebody got burned on ATOM at $11. Okay. It's really important. Okay. When you dollar cost average or you get involved in any trade, to make sure that you have stops put in. Because as we get deeper into the summer, the market will shake you out. The market will absolutely shake you out. So just be advised there about stops. And we thank that person for sharing their insight, right? It's great when people win, and it's great when people share their stories if they don't win. Now, I do want to talk about Doge. Ironically, me and Toby did a video on Doge. No one liked it. Altcoin Daily liked the preview tweet. Thank you, gentlemen, if you're out there listening. So let's talk about Doge and Elon. You got a 13 top, okay? And then it looks like you're going to make a 9 top in Doge in front of resistance. Truthfully, this is a big test for Doge. Because if there's a 9 top, say tomorrow, you want to look out for what they would call the failed dip. In other words, if there's a dip in Doge and they buy it 2 days from now, that could mean Doge is getting ready to take out this resistance. I am not underestimating Elon Musk, and I am not underestimating what happens if a guy like that starts piling into crypto. This says nothing of the embarrassment of Zuckerberg, of everybody going over the threads and everybody going right back to Twitter. Okay? So this is at resistance. You don't buy it at resistance unless you see evidence that they're really coming after it on a dip. Now, be advised, this is kind of what oil did. Oil crept up to 80 and sat there and then exploded. I actually believe this and XRP may be able to lead altcoins along with Ethereum. So I am really interested in what's going to happen in Doge over the next 3 days. Right? Either ZB is going to get the whole market, or we're going to see if somebody wants to buy the dip at resistance. because in bull markets, that can actually be constructive. If there's intense dip buying just underneath resistance, you know, it means people want it. Now, I want to look at other altcoins because, like I said, I'm warming up to the whole space. Tech stocks to me seem ridiculous. I'll spare you the equities charts. Let's look at Cardano. Let's see if we can just find anything interesting. So this daily chart points to 4 more down days. Okay, that's probably a good thing to keep in mind on Monday. Okay, you have a range trade on the 4-hour chart. So Cardano still not looking exciting. You know, I want it to go up. You know, it's like the X-Files from the 90s. I want to believe it's just not there. Now, Solana. Oh, what did I do? Solana, which was up 8% yesterday. Okay, what's happening in Solana? Solana burst through resistance. So it had this little box that the DeMark work had it in. You had the 9 top. Here, this could be like the counter trend dip. And if $24 holds, you know, this could be very constructive. If you look at a weekly chart, okay, normally when you have a DeMark work, so let's have a little mini DeMark tutorial with the Solana weekly chart. These green numbers that you see here, they represent a set of conditions, right? So you have a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4. That means you have a set of conditions present. Like, I don't know, the high is higher than the high 4 days ago. And each day those conditions are true, you get a number. And normally the first part of any trend or the only leg of a range is 1 through 9. Okay. You look for tops and bottoms on 9s and 13s. But there's a subtle nuance that if you are starting a trend, okay, the dip in a bull market or a rally in a bear market, the dip is on the 4. Notice how Solana, was up huge, but for the week, it's kind of, it's like a little doji. So kind of interesting that in Solana, you had the chance to get the dip. You had a chance to buy on red. And this is still well below the recent high, right? You know, Avalanche. Big article on Avalanche yesterday about, you know, security token functionality. Same thing. You had a dip in Avalanche on the 3 and the 4. I mean, these altcoins, you got a 9 bottom here. These altcoins, they're getting no love whatsoever. So I've like completely changed my tune on this because I just think the whole equity market is totally ridiculous. I mean, somebody has to allocate money. Somebody has to allocate money from tech stocks into crypto. I mean, they got a 13 top on DeMark analysis on QQQ. Now, this is a positive week for QQQ so far. I guess it's the summer and the Fed didn't destroy the world. But why are you putting money in that versus altcoins? I mean, look at Total 3. And I know you've heard this before, but I'm going to say it again. And I know it's not happening now. And I know ZB is on the warpath, but Total 3 is actually up today. Total 3 is up despite a decline in ZB and a rise in oil. I mean, damn. Now, you have to be careful about celebrating relative outperformance in crypto, but this could be the bigger the base, the higher in the space. And the biggest oh my God trade, like at the end of June, the oh my God trade was they did the entire July rally in a week. What happens if they turn around and do that in Ethereum? Okay, so maybe says, so a 13 top would be 13 days of an uptrend topping out on the 13th day, signifying a downtrend. Close. So when you see the 13 top, a certain set of conditions, a 13 signal, will tell you a certain set of conditions has been true for 13 days, which is when you would expect to see a top or you would look for a top. Sometimes the trend has one more final thrust before it can turn. Conversely, if you see the 13 signal and the market doesn't top or bottom, you know that the trend, and they mean business. So DeMark works if it's a success or a failure. Okay. Okay. Thanks to the mini tutorial on DeMark. No problem. No problem whatsoever. Okay. Let's dive into, let's try to find as many altcoins as I can. Let's get into the AI space. Okay. I have such a hard time being bearish on this AI space, even though, you know, the price action is not spectacular. Okay. This is AGIX stuck in this range. Okay. I'm still looking to get something going on in here. Now, Chainlink. There's an astrology guy out there that faded Chainlink. I worked with Toby, and Toby was like, well, it may not be the greatest thing ever, but don't expect some sort of hard reversal. Now, in fairness to this astrology guy, he's really smart. He did a lot of good work on Venus in retrograde. And his angle is, and he's probably right, that trends tend to reverse itself when Venus goes into retrograde. Retrograde means Venus's appearance in the sky is a little bit different. That's how I would say it. I know we have somebody here who corrected me last week. Okay. Wrong again, said another 13 top in NASDAQ. Yes. So the trend reversal in Chainlink was that Chainlink was essentially dead money and it woke up. Now, it woke up to the tune of a 20% rally, which in Chainlink is a lot, right? I don't see why the same thing can't happen in something like ETH. If I just pull the chart up big here in ETH, right? Okay, this is the daily chart. Okay, now we're going to do some on-the-fly TA. What about this? Somebody was asking me the other day in a Twitter space, Richard Barry, a definitely future star in TA on crypto Twitter. This is a diamond, right? And this is one of the best diagonal formations that tend to work in crypto, but it's always really tricky. Like, it's not clear whether I should be connecting this here or whether there be another down trade in ETH. But this is a pretty interesting looking diamond. And when you break out of these things, they can be hugely explosive. Now, what I've seen in crypto before, just so you know, which goes back to this whole idea of buy on red, is sometimes I see the breakout on the downside and everybody goes, oh my God, it's going higher. And then it turns around and breaks out this way. This would not surprise me if this is how this played out. Whoops. This is how this played out in ETH. Okay. Whoops. I'm comfortable with jumping into ETH right now. Maybe you give the dollar index and bonds a day to settle down. Because again, bonds are starting to fall apart now. Okay. So if you're trading ETH, right, and you're looking at legacy, you wait to see if ETH can hold up. And if ZB goes from 124 to 121, which is a really big move, that's where you want to get yourself some Ethereum. That's where you want to get yourself some Ethereum, right? I mean, we got guys who have been looking for the ETH. We've been looking for the bond market breakdown for some time. Okay. And then, of course, there's everybody's favorite S&P futures. Like, look at this. Look at these guys. Just remember, at first glance, everything in equities is bullish. Like, everything is bullish. Oh, the Fed's tightening. The economy's strong. It's bullish. The Fed stops tightening. Oh, it's great. Interest rates are going to go lower. It's bullish. It doesn't matter what it is. It's bullish at first glance. So there is your higher high in price, and here is your lower high in momentum indicators. These guys are freaking smoking something. Absolutely smoking something. Sorry to get loud. Meta earnings are awesome. I love this. Okay. So Meta at 340, it's amazing, but nobody wanted it in October at 90. 90 down here. Meta. Let's sell everything. Poor James Cramer crying on the air about how he got this wrong. And then it turns around and goes to 300. And of course, everyone wants it up here. Giant exhaustion gap. Whatever. Web 2 is not the answer. It's not. Total altcoin valuation, $300 and something billion. I'm sorry. I know ZB is going to get smacked. I'm not getting bearish crypto unless you have an absolute total risk asset calamity. And frankly, crypto holds up decent. I mean, yes, it's a red day, but not the worst red day. Aiken is here. Welcome. Okay. Ron again says the lost billions in the metaverse. You know, one of the things that's interesting about this WorldCoin, you know, even though it kind of, you know, it came out at a very high valuation, the fact that people are standing in line for this, Watcher Guru had this yesterday. People are standing in line to get their eyeballs scanned so they can get some of these currencies and their ID done. Now, I did see somebody, I think it was Ubiquitous. So if you're out there, man, I appreciate it that, you know, if they have your retina, it doesn't matter because they already have your cell phone. This is true, right? But if people want this in these altcoins, these rectangular consolidation formations, you saw this in Pepe and you saw this in Harry Potter as well. If they want WLD, they don't want fiat. They don't. Okay. Wrong again says they won't even airdrop it to Americans. Well, that's probably because Americans may not be interested in giving up their sovereignty. Right? Because if you have a world ID, where do you live? What constitution applies to you? I can tell you what constitution applies to people. How about the Bitcoin white paper? How about that? You want shock jock stuff? How about that? Now, let's go and take a look and see if there's any evidence of long Bitcoin short the banks. I am really interested in this. Actually, let's go to DeMark. So I'm talking to my boss yesterday, and, you know, we're talking about this UFO testimony, which, you know, is compelling. Okay. It's compelling. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I seem to remember UFOs around Silicon Valley Bank. I can't remember correctly. Now, this is Goldman, right? This is Goldman. So if you look at the D wave, well, first of all, if you look at the DeMark work, there's the 9 top, right? And it's not, I mean, it's on support, resistance. So just to clarify, let me start over. So here's the 13 top. Okay. And there's your top. And this 13 draws this line automatically. So there's a battle here going on with Goldman. Okay. As is, there probably is with all bank stocks. We're going to look at BKX. Okay. Amazing that BKX is up today. Amazing. Or was up today. Let's go back to the chart. Okay. Most of these banks are in the red. A lot of banks are in the red. Okay. Wells Fargo. Now, I brought up the UFO case. Sorry to be a little bit scattered, but UFOs are a great distraction from what's really going on in the world. What's really going on in the world is that the Fed may have to bail out the whole U.S. banking system because fiat is cracking. Like, no one's talking about long Bitcoin, long Ethereum, short the banks. No one's talking about that, which, of course, drum roll, is why I want to talk about it, because you watch this show to hear about things before everyone else is talking about it, right? Driftless, welcome. Welcome. Okay. Long Bitcoin, short the banks. Oh, Deutsche Bank, largest bank in Germany. The European Central Bank is no longer interested in compensating banks for deposits at the ECB, or I think so. Don't quote me on that. Let's just take a look at the recent debacle in Deutsche Bank. And to me, it looks like a gigantic failure. Oh, look at this. At the 62% retracement of the recent decline. So Deutsche Bank down, A, B, C. What do you think is going to happen to crypto if the banks come unglued because of behavior of central banks? How do you think that's going to play out? What do you think? I report, you decide. Okay. Let's look at, oh my God, let's go deep. Let's go deep into DeFi. Let's go almost borderline degen. Okay. I want to see, this is Fantom. Okay. Let's try DeMark work on this and see what we get. Let's like, let's like really go into like altcoins and say, like layer ones, the stuff you love to love in the last cycle. Okay. Is there any evidence? No evidence on the Polkadot daily chart. That doesn't look exciting. Okay. There's your 13 top in Polkadot, but there's a lot of support just above 5. Okay. Let's look at near. Well, I promised Fantom. You're like, Fantom, who would look at that? Nobody. That's why I want to do it. Okay. So 4-hour chart of Fantom. So you have a dump, buy on red, and then you're at this big DeMark point. You have this huge give up trade here. Look at these red candles. People just giving up, and then they pop it higher. I might be out of my mind. No, I may be, but altcoins as the future of technology. I mean, look, folks, they rallied Bitcoin Cash. They rallied Litecoin. They rallied the future of money. Next thing they could do is rally the future of tech. And ZB may give you the opportunity, right? Because if they get hysterical on ZB on Monday, that's your chance to grab ETH. Or it could happen over the weekend. Interestingly, once Legacy closes, they may try to take ETH higher. Matter of fact, I think that would be kind of funny, right? If crypto doesn't go down because of turmoil in Legacy, maybe everybody goes, you know what? The only trade that makes sense is long Bitcoin or long ETH. Because all this turmoil in Legacy, can you figure it out? I mean, I can give you pieces of it, right? Like, oil up, stocks up, bonds down, rates higher, Bank of Japan, ECB doing stuff. That's a lot. That's a lot for me. I got to work with my boss on some of this stuff. Like, do you know what yield curve control is? I have an idea what it is. Do you care what it is? Do you have to care in crypto? You know what? Believe it or not, I don't think so. Right? This is near. Okay. Like sitting on top of a moving average. How about we go to moving averages? Okay. Rudy is now pumped about Jasmine. I'm glad. You have a 9 top. You have a dip. You have moving averages below it on a 4-hour chart. So you want to see after the 9 top the best thing that you could see is just turn around and go back up. Because normally if you get a 9 top and then it reverses, that's good, right? 9 top, dip, and then you want to see that push. Right now, people are selling the rallies on the daily chart. I don't know, man. Let's give it a chance. I know it's crazy. It's the craziest trade. It's like I'm watching ZB and all these things. It's like, oh, scary. No, things are not getting killed yet. And I don't know what everyone's doing in equities. I don't. Let me pull some DeMark work up on S&P. See if we can get any type of indication. Okay. So in equities, you got to a 12, not a 13. Let me just check another form of DeMark. There's a couple different methods that generate these signals. Nope, not there either. One thing I do think is interesting about equities on a 4-hour chart is that this is kind of like a warning where it highlights this DeMark Smart stochastic. You kind of got it here. It lasted for like a week before you got a correction. This to me, I don't know. This to me just doesn't look that good to me. It's like too much froth, too much greed, way too much greed. Now, on the DeMark tutorial, okay, here's the 13 top on the 90-minute SPY chart. Here was the blow-off top level. Look what they did. They took it up, pre-fed, then they brought it back down. Then they bought it, because they love it. They always love it, and then it's coming off. Mainly because of that Bank of Japan announcement. When the yen gets stronger, it means the Bank of Japan is not printing, and the Bank of Japan printing is one of the things that helps equities. This is just stupid. This is stupid. Stupid. Right? Meanwhile, again, in ETH, still green for today. See if I got anything on Ethereum weekly. Okay. Let's draw a fib retracement level, see what we get. Guys are getting a lot of on-the-fly TA. If you like on-the-fly TA, let us know. Oh, wouldn't you know it, that ETH is sitting on the 62% retracement of the June-July rally. It's been down here a bunch of times. Okay. Actually, it's the rally from 2022. So you had this rally from, am I looking at the right thing? I'm not looking at the right thing. This is Ethereum versus Bitcoin on the 62% retracement. Okay. It's been down here a lot on a weekly chart. Ethereum has a decent shot. Okay. This is Ethereum on a weekly chart. Not as interesting from a DeMark point of view, but again, riding one of these moving averages, that could be a bird on a wire getting ready to fly. On a monthly chart, because again, we are 3 days away from the end of the month. Okay. Remember the 1 through 9 thing? Well, this is the 7th up month. Wouldn't it be funny if August and September were 8 and 9 up months, like the 8th and the 9th up months? Pancakes and Peanut Butter likes the on-the-fly TA. Wrong again, wants to buy the deeper dip in ETH. Totally understandable. I get that. I get that. And that may be an October phenomenon, right? In other words, nobody's long ETH right now. Maybe ETH goes up. Then everybody gets long ETH. Then it goes back down. That's kind of the way it's been. Okay, so my wireless mouse is about to die. Buy on red, sell on green. If you don't know what to do, don't do anything. But I'm still convinced ETH and altcoins may do better as Bitcoin disappoints people. Nothing wrong with Bitcoin, but there could be disappointment. And if there's fulfillment anywhere, it's ETH and alts. We'll see you Monday.